All right. Hey, everybody. How are you all doing today? I have a special guest for today's episode. So I'll just give her a minute to join me and then we'll hop straight into it. Oops. Okay. All righty. Hey, I just sent the invite. It should come through to you. Okay. Accept. All right. Let's give technology a minute, y'all. uh, Send a request. I thought I accepted it. Go live. I'm accepting the request, but I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, there we go.
There we go. Hey.
Good old technology, girl.
Yes.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. All right, I'm gonna do a quick intro and then we can hop right into it, okay?
Okay.
All right, so welcome to the Mom Keys to Mental Peace podcast. I'm your host and sister in Christ, Tari Kaya Allen Butler. This is a podcast for millennial moms who struggle with limiting beliefs and want to learn how to make over their mindset and lifestyle in faith and family. Tap in each week for the Mom Keys to Mental Peace podcast, where you will learn major keys to stop coming up short on your goals and start leveling up for the type of lifestyle you desire God's way. Ready to level up? Let's do it. All right, so welcome back to another podcast episode, everybody. I have a special guest with me today that I'm excited to talk to in honor of Autism Awareness Month. Also, with me in my field of speech therapy, I work very closely with special needs children. They have a special place in my heart. And I have a special respect and high regards for special needs moms because it's not easy, working with them at work. So I can only imagine, like, living with a special needs child, the daily needs that they have that need to be met. So I'm excited to have Iesha Hunt with us today. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I am doing well. So just a quick intro. Iesha is like a Renaissance woman. When I got her bio together, I was like, yes, sis is doing all the things. So, again, my guest name is Iesha Hunt. She is a mother of three. She has two biological sons and one son who has been with her since he was 1 year old. Unfortunately, her oldest son passed away. Was it last year or 2 years?
Before last 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my, time is
It
flying.
really
Oh my
is. Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
Girl, so yes, unfortunately her oldest son passed away at 5 years old, and we'll touch a little bit on that today. He was diagnosed with KCNQ2 gene mutation. And her 9 year old son that she has living with her is diagnosed with autism and a developmental delay. But Iesha works in the nursing field. She is an ABA therapist. She's a business owner of Glamish Cosmetics, Majestic Beats, and Nehemiah's Transport LLC. And she is in the process of adding to that resume by becoming an event planner. So, welcome again to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so just jumping in, I guess, giving a little bit of background information. Let's just go like to the very beginning, whenever you were pregnant. Can you share your pregnancy experience, in particular with your oldest son, Nehemiah? Were there any signs of complications in your pregnancy? Were they able to track like any abnormalities in his development during your pregnancy? Like, what was that like for you?
So, crazy thing is, with my pregnancy, I'll tell anybody, if I could have did his pregnancy over again, I would have. It was like the perfect pregnancy.
Wow.
So at the beginning, it was no type of issues. The only issues I had was my blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Anything like far as him, I had no issues. My pregnancy was really perfect. Um, the crazy thing, I did do a genetics test during my pregnancy, showed nothing.
Wow.
Um, right. So, and the
How
crazy thing
soon?
is
How
his
soon did you do that? Like, how many weeks were you?
they did it around I believe I was like 12-week mark. Yeah.
Okay.
So the normal little genetics test, see if the baby has any genetics issues, Down syndrome, all those things. And it came
Right.
back clear as day. Nothing, nothing of the sort. So, thought everything was good. I end up getting induced at 38 weeks and 6 days due to my blood pressure. And
Mm-hmm.
when he was born, he died on the table twice. Um, and they brought him back. The second time they brought him back, he started having seizures. So they automatically took him and they shipped him to another hospital. I wasn't able to see him for 2 days.
Oh my God.
So when I finally got they shipped him to Wait Med first. And Wait Med did a gene panel, and that gene panel showed nothing. They were still like in not understanding what the issue was, what was going on. So they ended up sending him to Duke Hospital. From Duke, he was there from October all the way to November 10th. Um,
Mm.
and when he was there, they ran all types of tests. I mean, he was in the NICU for that whole point of time. And when they finally ran the test, they did a 5,000 gene panel. And at that point, that's when they came back and told me he had KCNQ2 gene mutation, which means he was missing his potassium sodium channel, which that is how our body operates. Sodium come in, potassium go out. That's just how our body functions, which also caused him to have a rare case of epilepsy, or encephalopathy. And with his gene mutation, only 99 people in the world had it.
Wow.
So when he was diagnosed, they were still trying to learn about it. They knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
So they were basically trying to cater to his medications through his seizures and stuff like that, because they didn't know what to do with the gene mutation, just because it was such a rare condition.
Yeah.
And so I would just tell people, a lot of times the doctors be like, when people say, "What does he have?" I just like, "Oh, he got epilepsy." Like, they like, no, you need to let them know he has a gene mutation, because that's a very serious condition and that's his main diagnosis. And me, I'm just like, nah, I mean, it ain't that serious, but it was very serious.
Mm.
So of course it caused him to have a lot of issues within that. He didn't talk, he didn't walk. They let that he had seizures very frequently. And so we spent and lived a lot in the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
I remember kind of vaguely like we were pregnant around the same time. That's when I was pregnant with Janae. Because I remember we were at a football game together and we were talking about, because I think I had her in January, so you were a little before me,
mm-hmm.
a couple months ahead of me. So I can't imagine, him having to be sent somewhere else day one, day two of being born. And this is your
Mm-hmm.
first baby, like
Right.
your first everything as far as becoming a mom and, not being able to see him. Like, can you just, I guess, explain like what was going through your mind at that time? I know that you're strong in your faith. Like, how would you say that God helped you in that season to mentally like push through?
So literally in that moment, so the first time that he died on the table. Of course, I ended up having an emergency C-section because the doctor told us if he didn't go ahead and get us back, we both were gonna die. His heart rate was
Jesus.
dropping, my heart rate was dropping. So I went in for emergency C-section. When they took him, the first time he now, they weren't telling me anything. So I'm laying on this table like, what is going on? I don't hear my
Mm.
child, nothing. All I had was pictures. So the second time, so I'm telling them like, what is going on? They take my son out and I don't know nothing. So I told my sister who was in the room with me, I'm telling her to, go out there and tell them to call my pastor. Call
Yeah.
my pastor. I don't know what's going on. He literally stopped Bible study and came up to the hospital. And it literally took that he came in there because they brought me to recovery. So he came to the room where I was in recovery, and everybody that was there, because I mean, a few people ended up coming like family and them, and his dad, and they literally just prayed because they had just came in and told me that they were gonna have to take my baby to
Yeah.
another hospital. I still haven't seen him. I did
Right.
not see him for 2 days. So it literally put me in a position. I'll tell anybody any day that this situation with him, it literally brought me closer to God. Like it really put me in a place where I had to learn to travail more. Like I pray more like forgiveness because it was a lot of stuff that, I was harboring in my heart that I literally had to go to the Father to ask, for forgiveness to be able to get to him on the behalf of my son. And so in that point, it literally took me to a place deeper in God because I knew in that moment that that was the only place my strength came from.
Yeah.
And so that's where I was at. That was the only thing that was keeping me. And anybody that know me, it was a song. I tell anybody any day. I literally sung this song from the time I seen him at 2 days old at Wake Med. Because of course I couldn't leave right away with him. I had a C-section. So they really let me go earlier than I was supposed to. Because they was trying to keep me from my time. And I'm just like, no, I gotta get to my child.
Just
So
yeah.
yeah, so they let me go, and I always sung this song for him from the time he was born to the time he died, and it was that song. And it kept me. It says, "It won't always be like this. The Lord will perfect that concerning you. Sooner or later, it's going to turn in your favor." And I literally sung that song every single day, even when he was laying there, passed away, he was dead. I sung that song. I played that song until they took him to the morgue because that song signified like I knew it wouldn't always be like this. But in that moment, I needed God to perfect everything concerning us. And I tell people any day, I mean, it was literally God's strength. And to this day, it's God's strength and Nehemiah's strength, the way he fought, the way he pushed, the way he kept going every time, hospitals was called, anytime someone, they claimed death on
Mm.
him.
Mm.
Literally, it was God's strength. And, Nehemiah 8 and 10 says, the Lord, joy of the Lord is my strength. And it was literally that keeps me. And so it's literally that situation. I know people like I was like it was so much deeper than just a mother, son relationship. Like my life revolved around him. He literally taught me so much, especially when it came to faith. Like I literally, oh my God, like it was just crazy how I grew in leaps and bounds through this situation, through my son, because I literally had to pray for him when they're calling hospice and I'm having to go to God for him. I was his advocate. So it literally like put me in a place and sometimes did I get defeated? Oh yes. It was
Man.
hard. When you look at things with your natural eye and you see things for what they really are, you get down because of course your mother instinct is gonna kick in as a mother. So you're gonna have those realistic moments like, God, what you doing now? Hold on. I'm not understanding. And I remember a scripture it says, you might not understand what I'm doing now, but later you will. And I remember by later, the later was I grew in faith, I grew in God, and I grew as a mother. And I was able to, I know now that I have a book coming out when I finally finish this book. It's going to be Pain is Not Final. And I know pain is not final. And I've learned that through this situation, even through death. He's still winning. He's still showing me. He's still helping me. So that's where I was
Girl,
at.
you about to make me shout over here. at this table because that's, man, talk about faith. Talk about having to literally, like, I just picture, like, just being frail and just leaning on God, like this limp body. Like, I literally
Oh,
can't do anything but like lean on you and depend on you. And it just makes me think, like, what if that was like, I'm sure he had many purposes. I feel like special needs children definitely had a special
hmm
purpose because they changed the character in their caregivers. Like,
right.
having to serve someone, having to serve someone with special needs that needs you, it really does a shift in your character. So I just can't help but think, like, one of his main purposes was, for you to learn God in a different way, for you to deepen your relationship with him. I mean, you would never have known God the way you know him now unless you went through that situation, you know?
And that's so funny you said that because I literally got a word after he was born, and it was a prophecy. I got it twice actually. And it says, "This didn't only happen because you needed to get closer to God, but it was because he was a prophet to the
Yeah,
nations." And it
man.
literally did just that. It brought me closer to God.
Literally, literally. I know I share a lot, like in 2018 was like my transformation year as far as like my mindset and just getting serious about my relationship with God at that time. But ironically, that's when I started working with special needs children. I was in the self-contained classroom.
Mhm.
And involuntarily, I had just got started in speech, and there was something that went wrong with the paperwork. Again, this is how God can make everything work out for our good. Within that error, I was sent to the self-contained classroom, and those are the more severe special needs children, and I had to work closely with them. And when I say God did a work on my
Yeah.
attitude, on my mindset, on my gratitude, as I've shared at the beginning, like, I have a high respect for special needs moms because I just really started reflecting, like, I may be complaining about my son leaving his clothes on the floor or washing the dishes or something, but there's this mom who would love for their child for that to be a problem, something so simple
hmm
that we take for granted. And I remember a mom too sharing, like, I feel like my daughter will never have friends or be invited to sleepovers, just little things that you may take for granted. This is
Yes.
what's going on in a special needs mom's mind, and it just really humbled me. Like, girl, what is you complaining about, or what are you over here, whining or worrying about? Like, it just really pulled a deeper sense of gratitude out of me as far as a mom, and like I said, a high respect
Yeah.
for special needs moms, like, legit.
That is so true. It's a
So,
lot of things.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, yeah, it's a lot of things. I had that mentality with uh Nehemiah where he didn't, walk and he didn't talk, and even though he could express in his own way and everybody knew our relationship was everything.
Mama
I
knows.
literally, yeah, I knew. I knew when he wanted something. I knew when he wanted to tell me love. I knew when he wanted to give me a kiss. But I also knew I wanted to also really experience the walking, the talking, and stuff. So a lot of
No.
people didn't understand when I decided to do the method as I did to get, my other child, because I was like, I just want to experience motherhood. It don't take nothing away from Nehemiah, but I just wanted to experience those milestones. I wanted to be able to see the first step. I wanted to be able to hear him tell me he loved me. I wanted to be able to experience all that, be able to, him to eat out of a tube and not out of his stomach, just all those things. So
Goodness.
yeah, it's
And you
definitely for
deserve
special
that.
needs.
And you
Hmm
deserve that. And I will say that I admire, your decision with doing that because, you're very vulnerable and open about, what's going on. You're well known in the community. Nehemiah was well known. Everybody knew him. So that opens the door for a lot of opinions,
hmm
for a lot of people to have a say about your life. But listen, this is your life. Okay.
Absolutely.
The desires in your heart that God has placed in your heart, and you deserve that. And again, like you said, that does not take away from Nehemiah. His legacy is stamped. forever here in the
Right.
earth. Like he came and did what he was supposed to do. So I'm happy for you for
Thank you
that.
so
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Now I know you have an older son that you said you has lived with you for a while and he has autism. Would you like to share your experience, like as far as him being diagnosed, or what were some signs that you noticed in him, since you said you've had him since one? What was
Yeah.
that like?
So with Dion, he had more so a lot of delays at first when it came to talking, came to walking, potty training. So that was already a sense of, a little bit. But my brother, which is his uncle, my sister, which is his mom, her twin. He's the one
Hmm.
kept coming to me and kept saying, "I think Dion is autistic. Just little stuff he did, little signs. He doesn't like loud noises.
Hmm.
It was just little stuff he did." So finally, at he went to Warren Williams first for pre-K, and they ended up doing a little bit of testing, but of course they couldn't do much then.
Right.
So he just was doing speech therapy and occupational therapy there. And it wasn't until he went to WB Wicker, they ended up doing testing, did the psychiatry. They sent us to advanced behavioral. They diagnosed him with ADHD, and at that time they said he had autism spectrum and
Okay.
developmental delay. Um, and so first they watched him. They said he was borderline. He would do little things like he has like sensory issues. Like one day, me and Dion like to had it out in here because I gave him a little Reebok shirt that was cut off that he wanted to put on. But I thought the shirt was fine because I'm like, the shirt is made like that, Dion. He was not happening. He's
Yeah.
like,
Give it
absolutely
to
not. This is
him.
not how it go. That is
Yeah.
not a shirt I'm gonna wear. And we went back and forth till he got another shirt. He doesn't like loose pants. He like has tight pants. Due to his sensory, like his learning is, really off. Unfortunately, he's still like on a kindergarten level at
Okay.
9 years old. So he's severe in that aspect, but he is of course verbal. He still does speech and occupational. They pull him out for EC classes. He does have some, behavioral, but it's more so when he's not off his medication. So it becomes a lot because he has like hard comprehension. He doesn't
Yeah.
comprehend things where you have to continuously repeat these things, and then he stems a lot. Like he has to rub the stem. It's like, and a lot of people outside of the house, when they see Dion, they don't know these things because all they see is Dion as Dion. He's gonna talk and run that mouth in,
Yeah.
and that's just what Dion do. But in this house, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a hard task, and it's trying to help him. And for me, as a mother who went through a severe child and then have one, he
Hmm.
does function, but then it's like, especially on a learning aspect. And no offense, me personally, I was an honor student and stuff. So,
Right.
and unfortunately, his biological mother, she wasn't, and so when it comes to education and trying to train him, like you have to really have patience.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of patience and trying to understand their methods of learning because they're not on your level. And so it's a lot. It's been a lot. And I literally just takes a lot of prayer, a
Yeah.
lot of, and then on top of that, when you have other genetics in you, genetics and the things working together, it takes a lot of prayer
Yeah.
because you have to reroute them. A lot of times they don't like change. He doesn't like change at all. He wants the same things every day. And for those moms, they know like when it comes to autism, because he finally was diagnosed at um, later on in that year at age 5, he was diagnosed fully autistic, developmental delay and ADHD.
Hmm.
And from there, I ended up taking him from W. Wicker because it became like, of course, he had an IEP and things just was like, it was continuous. And it's like, you guys diagnosed them. You kind of know the issues, and it was just so it became a thing, and I kind of just moved him to try to get him better help because autism is a lot. Know, they do a lot of different things, but one thing about autistic kids, they're very, very smart. They're
Yes.
very smart. When it comes to drawing, the child can draw his tail off. He can draw so good when he's focused on something. Like he loves super heroes. So right now he's in there. Before I came in here, because I told him don't come bother me. He's in there dressed in his old Halloween costume as a superhero right now. So he just have to let Dion be. So he's in there as a superhero right now, coloring in his book. That's what he wants to do every single day. And if it goes
Yeah.
out of his norm, he's like, no, well, I don't understand. So it's like literally a daily process that you just have to keep, and you just have to understand their way of thinking. Like,
Yes. Yeah. I mean, as a professional who works with children with autism, children with ADHD, developmental delays, it's a hard day, girl.
whew,
It's a hard
yeah,
day. And then like you said, with those things, certain things throwing them off, and each of them are different. As far as autism, the spectrum is so different. Something that bothers one child with autism may not bother another. The
hmm
severities are different. So trying to accommodate everyone at one time in that classroom is hard. So I commend you, for sometimes you do have to just go along. You have to pick your battles,
yeah.
honestly, and having those things in place. So, like you said, right now he's in his superhero outfit drawing, and you have to think: is this hurting anybody? Like, is anybody in danger? Is anybody like just kind? If that's what he wants to do and he's into to mellow out and calm him, then it's like cool. I'm here for it. I know a lot of times the needs of special needs children kind of put me in the mind that it's like mentally they're still like the toddler
hmm
stage, for certain things or their comprehension. And with my toddler now, I see like difficulties that he has with routine or moving past things. And, he's not developmentally delayed, but I do see that he has a hard time with those things. And I just think like, man, there are some special needs moms where, usually at 2 years old, it's like, whoo, it's just a stage or a season and they're out of it. But for a special needs mom, it's like, this may be a year after year thing that,
Right.
we're having to address or work through or try again. And again, my heart goes out to y'all and I commend you because that does take patience
hmm
to really, not lose your mind. And I'm sure there are those times where it's just like, this is so hard, which, brings me to my next question. What would you say the hardest thing is about being a special needs mom? And on the flip side, what would you say the best thing about being a special needs mom is? Because I do believe there is beauty in the struggle. But we can start with, what's the hardest thing?
I, I would say the hardest thing is, honestly, is understanding them. Their
Yeah.
different dynamics, trying to correlate with them and the things that they need and want. Because sometimes, like Dion, he has a hard time explaining things. Um, and I'm trying to understand, like, what does he need? So he gets frustrated, and he gets frustrated with me because I'm like, what are you saying, Dion? What are
Yeah.
you saying? And it's like he sometimes just go off the wall, and I just don't be knowing what he's talking about. And so then we're both sitting there frustrated because he's frustrated with me because he don't understand me. I'm frustrated because I'm like, what are you saying? Um, and then it's harder to get a break. Um, that's really hard. It's a struggle when you don't have a village. Yeah. So those would be my hard. Those two are my hardest things. But the beauty of it, he's such a special kid. Those kids are so special.
It's
They're so awesome, and just being able, I was glad when I was chosen to take him on. not knowing the difficulties that was going to come with it. But I was glad because I would rather have these difficulties than him have stayed in the system. So every day it's the joys of seeing him come home when he's walking through that door,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing him be able to show me about his little, as he called them, color papers. His teacher prints him off color papers because that's Dion's thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so to just see him so invested in something, like he can literally draw from memory. So that's one thing he does. He has an awesome, 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 awesome memory. So yeah, just doing life with him every day. What I would really just every day, the process is really, it just makes me happy, even through the hard times. Beautiful ashes.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah.
Beauty for ashes. He will
Yes.
do it because, and that's a good point you made as far as the system. Because could you imagine him being in the system with his, diagnoses and wherever he was at, and how they would, know how they're handling him, or their lack of patience with him, or whatever,
Well, that was a hard task. He was there for 2 months, um, in foster care, and I was pregnant when Nehemiah had came and got him, and those was the hardest 2 months of my
Mm-hmm.
life. Um, just because I'm just like, what is he doing? And then he ended up having a seizure with those people. And of course, they called me instantly, because I was his guardian. But it's like, what is they got going on? That he
Yeah.
got to the point where he had seizures. He had never had seizures before. But then when I
Mm.
finally got him back, I got a new caseworker who fought to get him back
Yeah.
in my home. Because one of the workers tried to say, "Oh, with me having Nehemiah, because by this time I had Nehemiah like 26 days later, and of course, everybody knew what he had going on with him being in the hospital. And they like, oh, it's gonna be too much on you, and this and that. I'm just like, how you gonna tell me what's too much for me? He needs to be back with me." And
Right.
I had a new caseworker who literally fought to get him back with me. And when he did come back, he was so scared. He was scared of everybody that he knew.
Mm.
So I could just only imagine if he had to stay longer than that, um, what would have happened? Like
Yeah.
his mindset, like he's really scared of everything. Like Dion can run through the house, turning flipping lights on just to go to his room.
Yeah.
And that's another thing where it takes, because it's like in his mind, especially these kids, they see things, they hear things that
It's
we
a
don't see. So then
different
it takes me
world.
as a mom, yeah, takes me as a
Mm.
mom having to pray harder, because now he has this thing that's just torment him. He's just scared. He's just all around, and it's like this is a daily battle for me. And
Mm.
I'm literally having to pray, and I'm telling him beyond every day, stop being so scared. I was like, God got you. I have to tell him every day, plead the blood. And,
Yeah.
you know, not that he understands what I'm saying, but he'll do it sometime. And then it's like today, for instance, my aunt is here helping me because she felt like, I was going through some things. She was like, I just feel like you need someone
Yeah.
right now. So she came up here to help me. And she got to telling him, because we just got a new puppy, and she got to telling him a story about how a dog tried to attack, da 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 da. And I'm like, please stop telling him that. I said, stop
Yeah.
telling him that, because instantly he started doing this now. He started
Yeah.
looking over his shoulder. I said, Dion, don't start looking over your shoulder. So I said, it's okay. She's just telling a story. I had to tell her literally to be quiet, and I wasn't trying to disrespect my elders, but his mind correlates a different thing, because he's
Yeah.
gonna think this dog is gonna do this to him. So now he's already scared, and now you're putting more fear in his head.
Mhm.
So then I have to be the one that deal with that, added on to what else I already have to deal with.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of word, a lot of prayer on a day-to-day basis, um, to do that. But we have our good days. Like I said, we have our good days. We have our highlights. He was having so many struggles on the bus to last month. He got bus rider of the month.
Look
So
at
there's
that.
some wins in the situation. Right. I was like, woo, what? They wanted to make sure
Yes.
I knew that. They gave a boy a certificate and everything. But
Yes.
yeah, so I'm like, it's some wins in the situation. You stay consistent. Staying
Mm.
consistent and staying, upholding prayer. Prayer, I tell you, but prayer gonna get you through. Pray without
Yeah.
ceasing. So,
Without ceasing, period.
mm-hmm,
Like, girl, and then I know how you touched on he's good at drawing. I would say that's one of the my favorite things about children with autism is like what is their superpower that
mm-hmm.
they can do? You know, for some of them it's drawing. There's one kid I work with, he knows all the states in
Oh
America.
wow.
He can recite them off. I worked with one kid who could look at a math problem and tell you the answer, and we would have a lot of fun with him. We would just give him like random math
Oh wow.
math problems, and he would just look at it and say the answer, and I'll put it in like, let me check because I don't know, and it would
Mm-hmm.
be right. So just like you said, their brains and their minds, like there are some like communicating things that may not be connected, but whatever that superpower is for them, baby, when it's connected, it's connected and they take off on it and really show like I do know something. There's something going on up here, okay? It may not look like yours. You're something.
Right.
Something connected up here. I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that. So I know you shared that like your aunt mentioned like, hey, I just feel like you need some help, which I'm sure all hands on deck can be used as much as possible for you, and how you shared about not getting a break. Man, because mamas need a break. Specifically, I know a special needs mom because you're all moms are always on anyway. But I
Yeah.
feel like there's a certain height that a special needs mom has to be on.
Mm-hmm.
There's like very little debriefing time. So how would you say that like family members, community members can best support special needs moms?
I always say, I just offer a helping hand.
Yeah.
Whether I don't care if it's just words of encouragement, if it's just say, hey, you want to bring the kids out for a park date, or you want to get out for an hour, just anything. The little bit means so much.
Yeah.
The little bit means so much. Even down when it comes to the community, understanding and knowing that all these kids are special. There's nothing wrong with them. Don't look
Yeah.
at them like there's something wrong with them. You can help them. Show them the way when you're around them. Keep them on a consistent basis. When it comes to like school would be community. This
Hmm.
child. Um, it's easy to help a parent out when special needs when it comes to the school. Okay, we will use Dion. Dion knows his teacher every day is going to give him a printout paper to color on.
Yeah.
That's a highlight for him. So when he comes home, he has something that he's looking forward to doing when he gets home to be able to color. So then that
Right.
gives me uh, a time to just say I can relax. I can sit in my room and just take a moment and woosah because he's occupied. His teacher has helped in that
Yeah.
aspect. Even though she doesn't know she helped, she's helping because he be so focused and occupied that he doesn't really come bother me till he really just needs something.
Yeah.
And so find little things, when it comes to the community or family, find little things that you can do and just offer help. That's the biggest thing. Just offer some type of something. Um, for me, I be reaching out. I'm like, I tell their grandpa, my Dion's grandpa, like, hey, sometimes I need you to get help. Like, I need a help. Don't be scared to say I need help. And then as a parent, especially needs mom, you just say, hey, this is the things he don't like. This is what she likes. This is what she don't like, and help them so that they can help you
Right.
and make it easier so that you can get the village you need and don't be scared to ask. Because a lot of times we, especially these moms, be scared to ask. So we can't get help from our community. We can't get help from our family because we're like, oh, it's going to be too much on them.
I
Oh, they're
can
not
see
going to
that.
help. They're not going to do this. They're not going to want to do that. And so then we're stuck in a place where we're about to lose our minds because we don't got that outlet. So,
Yeah.
but I also feel like, as like I said, as a community, and then sometimes, the severe ones that are nonverbal, the community, they're looking at them like a problem. And I'm just like, you don't have to teach them. I love the fact that Florida Night lets regular kids come to pre-K, because it also allows them to see that these kids are just like you. They just have different ways. They're all special. And so as a community, you could teach your kids, and it helps that mother in the same sense by telling them, hey, when you approach this kid, don't stare. Don't just look at them, help them. Some people, wave to them,
It's adults
anything.
that do that now. Like
Yes,
whether children learning it early, like yes, that's good, but there's some adults that need to learn that too. Like, yeah,
absolutely. I be having to tell them, and then some people, like, it aggravates me the most when people like, yes, I do know spirits, but you also have to work. They be like, oh, it's just spirits, and they just brush it off, just brush it off, just brush it off. And it's like, no, don't brush it off. Yeah, it's a spirit in a sense, but this is something that what you can do is help pray. But in the same token, you can pray, and you can help say, what do you need me? What do you need from me? How can I help
practice.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah, it,
yeah.
it's so
And I would
simple.
add this too. Special needs moms, be open to receive the help, because kind of
Mm-hmm.
like we touched on earlier, they're nervous by thinking it may be too much, or maybe feel some sense of fear of that child being out of their sight, or releasing trust to somebody else. Like, be open to receiving the help, because the only way that they're going to, get comfortable with your child and vice versa is the more that they engage with your child, and the more that you teach them and show them, then think about in the future, it'll be better along the way. But
Mm-hmm.
if you never give them a chance, then your child will never learn to be comfortable with them, and vice versa. So be open
Right.
to receiving the help as well.
Absolutely. That is
Yes. So,
very big.
so big, so big. I know, I have a family member, and I wouldn't say her child has special needs, but he's in that toddler phase, and I'll ask, like, bring him over, and such, and it's always an excuse, like, well, no, and such, and I'm like, girl, I know you need a break.
Right.
And then
It's
it's like, I
okay.
have children, I work with children, like, so I don't think they're nervous about, them being
Right.
safe, but just receive the help if the help is
Mm-hmm.
being offered, of course, with someone trustworthy. Now, they
Right.
have discernment. Have discernment. Don't just send them with
Absolutely.
anybody.
Just to get a
um
break. Don't do that.
right, don't, now we're not saying do that. Don't do that. For sure, have discernment, but just be open, to receive as well, because I can see how that could be hard.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so in conclusion, this is such a great conversation. I'm sure moms have pulled some nuggets, just from what you shared so far. But what advice would you give a mom with a special needs child who may be struggling?
I, I'll tell them to be patient with themselves. Don't beat up on themselves. Don't feel guilty about anything. Love on yourself. Love on your child. Know that your child is special, and that you can get through it. The Bible tells us in Romans 8 and 288, all things work together for the good of them who love the Lord. That's
Yeah.
including the child. Everything serves a purpose. It's good going to come out of everything.
Yeah.
And I just believe in a child being whole, and that's even with their special needs. I believe in healing. I believe that they can even be healed in even the severest special needs. Um, and I also believe, take breaks. Don't be scared to take breaks. I was taught one thing with Nehemiah, because I was scared for the first 2 years of his life to let anybody,
I can
a nurse or anything,
see
keep
that.
him. And so one of the ladies came up to me when they was trying to push me to get nursing services for him. And they said, how can you be anything for him if you're nothing for yourself? And
Mm,
that thing really set me, because you like, if you're not healthy, what can you do for him?
right?
Nothing. So you cannot not give yourself a break. You can't allow yourself to let fear set in,
Yeah.
and not be able to maneuver through life challenges, having a special needs child. You have to get out, and don't be scared. to get out and let your child branch out. I have a church member. Her child is severely autistic, severely special needs, and a lot of times she gets frustrated and he feels it to the point he'll
Yeah.
start
Mhm.
acting out. And I had to tell her she has this thing. She doesn't want him around people. She doesn't want this. And I said, that's the problem.
Yeah.
You can't allow him. I said, until you come become consistent with bringing him around people and consistent, he's going to continuously do this cycle of acting out because he doesn't know his environment.
Yeah.
Because you in and out because you don't want to keep him around because you're scared of this and you're scared of that and this. And I told her straight up, I said, it's you. I said, he
Mm,
can feel you. I said, you can't
mm,
do that. He has to be out. He has to be around people. You can't pull him out of school and homeschool him because you're
mm.
scared he's too much. No, that's you. Never be too scared to branch out and allow your child to branch out. Like
Yeah.
your child needs that. He needs to know the world just like a regular child even knows the world. It's no difference. They just got superpowers. That's just it. They
Yeah.
have superpowers. And so I always tell them, like I said, take a break every chance you get and don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel bad because that's a lot of times they feel guilty. Don't feel bad about it. Take that break. Sleeping with somebody safe so you ain't calling every 5 minutes because I know how it is. But you receive the help, like you said, receive the love. Because again, how can you be anything to your child if you're nothing to yourself? You can't take care of them. If you're down and waddled and out of your mind, how can you be anything? Your kids is gonna go lacking. So take time for you. That's the biggest thing. Take time for you and don't feel guilty. That's it.
Mm. Girl, that is a
Yeah.
word. That is so good because I could see, I know moms of typically developing children struggle with that. So I definitely can see that guilt, that mom guilt just
Mm-hmm.
attacking your mind as a special needs mom. Like, how dare you leave them and you know you need to be there and just the enemy trying to, get you to burn yourself out there
Right.
with a child,
The mind
because
is
I believe
crazy.
from burnout, it's going to affect everybody's going to feel it in the house.
Absolutely.
Everybody's going to feel it. So that's so good. Well, I just want to give you your flowers and commend you. I'm so proud of, what you have overcome in your journey. I'm proud of everything that you're stepping into. I think you are the prime example of a special needs mom who is like, I'm going after, what God has called me to as far as you doing your hobbies and your interests and starting your businesses. You're very vocal and transparent, about your situation. I think that has helped you along the way as well. Like, you're not afraid to share, you're not afraid to show the ugly parts as well as the beautiful parts of it. I feel like your life is a testimony to the world about how faithful God is and what it looks like to trust God in those hard seasons. I'm looking forward to your book coming out. I don't know if you have a date or anything for it, but I'm definitely looking forward to reading that. You for sure have a story to tell, girl, that can help so many special needs moms because that community is needed. I know
Absolutely.
community is a big piece of healing for a lot of people. You can't do this thing by yourself, so I commend you for being open about that. I don't think anybody can do life by themselves, specifically special needs moms. You need those other moms that you can share, those like the win about the bus certificate. Somebody might be
Mhm.
like, okay. But a special needs mom is like, girl, yes, that's a huge thing. Like,
That's a win.
that's a win. And you need those people to celebrate those moments with you. So keep doing what you're doing, girl. I'm rooting for you and I appreciate you
Thank
for
you so
talking with me.
much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, and anyone who wants to connect with her for any type of service, I know she does makeup services as well. I have all her information in the show notes so you can connect with her.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye,
All
Isha. Thank you so much.
right. You
Have a
too.
good
Have a good
night.
one. You too. Bye.